I don't think that it suffices to say that Ghost of Tsushima did not receive the PlayStation experience that we were all hoping for. Although that isn't the case, we can't really truly say that it's a bad thing or, necessarily a good thing either. That what happened for Ghost of Tsushima was 100%, up to expectation. But at the same time, too, I feel like I'm personally part of why, as far as people who watch my videos go, probably had their expectations pretty high for Ghost of Tsushima content at PlayStation Experience. So I want to go ahead and give you guys a humble apology. I don't want to seem disingenuous. I don't want to act like it's not something that I wasn't doing, because every opportunity I got, I talked about potentially seeing a new trailer. When they started to talk about concept arts, I was talking about concept arts of gameplay, like pure gameplay, and what we may expect to see from like the combat and stuff like that. And it's come to fruition that that was not the case. It was more so just like a lot of talking, and I think probably two to three different images of stuff that actually seems to be like what's going to be in the game. And even then, we still didn't get a look at the combat. Now, there were still some interesting things said at the panel for Ghost of Tsushima, just not things that I don't think any of us were truly expecting to hear about. So let's go ahead and get right into them. So, to start things off, I wanted to go down a list and talk about things that are kind of like also in that same time period of when PXX was coming around, and then work my way into things that actually got confirmed at PlayStation Experience. So, the first thing is that the main character's name is Jin. And this is a very common Japanese name, Jin, but maybe there will be some changes there. Maybe this is just the official name of the character towards like the actual story that they want to write. But maybe the samurai himself will probably be someone that we get to name, or it'll be our names, but that's just the official name of the main character. And I say that because as far as everything that's been disclosed officially, there hasn't been any names dropped for the main character. There's just been stuff like, oh, take control of a samurai in 1274 as you wage unconventional war against the Mongols and their invasion of Tsushima. So you see what I'm saying? Maybe this will kind of be like our own stories, but it'll be like a story that's written that we follow, but at the same time too, we'll be able to put our names onto the main character. And but I feel like Jin is the official name of the character. So let's say this game they try and do something a little bit more free based, but let's say there will potentially be a sequel, and during that sequel they kind of have a more grounded story, so then his name will be reverted back to Jin rather than having our original character names, which will be like either our names or something else that we want to put for the main character. So that was something that got announced, or something that got revealed around the same time as PlayStation Experience was coming about. The design of the logo is Jin's family crest. Now, this family crest is completely fictitious, so once again, there's a lot going for the fact that Jin is just the name of the character officially. Because with this crest being something that isn't real, and them definitely having, like, families and stuff around, like, there's still families around from 1274, and they still do, like, these kind of traditional things, and they were there and they got to experience those things that they did to commemorate, like, the memory of 1274 and the warriors and the samurai who went out and risked their lives or gave their lives for the island of Tsushima. So there's still a lot of that there, and for them to just go ahead and go with a logo or a fake family for Jin or the main character once again does point towards them being more so on a let's do our own thing kind of side, rather than like trying to follow a specific family or a specific person in Japanese mythos or in Japanese history. So the next thing is that the game is not a documentary, or to be specific, it's not historically accurate or a retelling of 1274. So I think it's pretty clear to anyone that 1274, if you look for any type of information on it, I'm pretty sure you can find some books on it, but there isn't really readily accessible information towards the events of 1274. Now, if you go to Japan and you speak to some of these people who stay on the island of Tsushima, who's connected to these families of warriors and stuff from that time period, maybe you'll hear a couple of stories here and there from, like, family members that probably got passed down from so long ago. And yes, stories of families and stuff can be passed down this long. It's just a matter of whether or not the people or the families themselves actually keep them stories passing down the generations. And seeing as 1274 would essentially be like, not Japan, I wouldn't say Japan's 9/11. I don't like speaking like that because I don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time too, I'm off the rails, so I will go ahead and use it as like kind of an analogy. It is kind of Tsushima's 9/11 and shit, to where it was like kind of a whole terror attack, and there were people who were fucking destroyed, lives destroyed, homes, villages, complete like areas decimated, set ablaze and stuff, people killed, blood everywhere, all kinds of horrific shit. And this is something that is definitely remembered by people on the island of Tsushima. So, with that being the case, I definitely feel like these stories probably have made their way to this point, but there isn't a lot of historical information as towards the facts. Like, there's the whole thing about, like, I think 80 something samurai went to meet like tens of thousands, I mean, not tens of thousands, but I think like 10,000 Mongol warriors on the shore and stuff like that. Like, does that sound like it's something that's very logical? No, but at the same time, too, we can't argue that. But that could lead to a very interesting gameplay moment, especially if, let's say, the 1274 war is the only thing that's going to, like, really be that big. But, they won't do the return of the Mongols. It'll just be 1274, that attack, and then how that attack ended. It would kind of be cool to see, like, those 80 something samurai, and Jin being one of those samurai, and he probably being one of the only ones to survive that whole invasion in 1274. I think that would be pretty cool, and that would be an interesting way to end the game, especially if they plan on, like, ending the character's life before, like, the story ends. Imagine that. I think that would be pretty cool. The game is also more inspired by films set in the Edo period. Now, this is obviously something that's going to happen because when it comes to Japanese films and stuff, they're a lot more grounded than something like Hollywood. And these films usually take up the concept of something like samurais, martial arts, or ninjas. And with that being the case, there's a lot there that like kind of comes from like the history of Japan. All I'm really hoping for is that when they said that this is going to be based more so around like films and stuff around the Edo period, like that's how they're planning to set up the setting and kind of have like the villain or like the story structure based. I'm hoping that what they mean by this is just that they're going to take like 1274 and put it into the same kind of format versus like trying to make this like one of those movies. So what I mean by that is that I hope they don't try and make it as like, I wouldn't say egregious, but kind of as like, it's kind of outlandish. The movies are kind of outlandish, and I mean that in a good way. I mean it like as in they're kind of over exaggerated in certain ways and stuff like that. But I don't want that in this game. I want this game to take itself a little bit more seriously, and what we did get to see of the gameplay did show off that they are taking the gameplay a little bit more seriously. It isn't something that's going to be like, he killed me, like, Japan has a different way of how they like to handle movies and stuff like that, especially when they're set like in these older periods and stuff like that, to where somebody gets stabbed with a sword, and if you get stabbed with a sword, it really doesn't matter where the sword hits you unless somebody cuts like your head off or chop you in half or chop off your head. Like, it doesn't matter where they stab you. A stab wound is always going to take some allotted amount of time for you to die. So the reaction from that and stuff like that is what's exaggerated. I'm not trying to say that the movies are bad. I'm not trying to say that they're funny or it's hilarious and stuff like that, or they're horrible actors. I'm saying that the exaggerations and stuff are there and things like that. And they do a lot of different things as well from us. Now, the combat and the way people fight in those movies are fucking dope as hell. The choreography and like the fights in those films are dope as shit. And If they mean that they're taking like that kind of stuff and putting it into Ghost of Tsushima, then hell yes, I'm all for it, man. I would love to see like a fight. Just imagine a fight in Ghost of Tsushima, probably the final fight and stuff, to where Jin is probably fighting the last Mongol and stuff of the invasion that he has to fight in the story mode, and they just going at it, man. And then Jin and this guy's sword breaks, and then like they just drop off all of their armor and just have like a complete brawl, man. That shit would be so crazy. Could you imagine something like that? Like the final moments isn't even about using the sword. It's on some Metal Gear Solid 4 um Guns of the Patriots type of fucking liquid ocelot versus snake type shit. That shit would be so dope. Imagine that. That's what I would love to see. Five is that they also will be paying a lot of homage to traditions and customs, which is once again going towards that trip to Japan because they want to make sure that they aren't offending anybody. They want to make sure that since they're making a game based around this very sensitive time period for Japan as a whole, that they pay complete and utter respect towards the culture, the people, and understanding exactly what happened by the word of mouth of Japanese people and what happened like in a sense of how it affects Japan today. And that's something that they are doing damn good with. I feel like it's a good thing that they're doing that. Not because I'm a SJW, not because I'm a liberal or a libtard. It's just that I definitely like the idea of respecting history. Disrespecting history is one of the main things that I don't go for in any way, form, or fashion because I feel like the only way I believe in the concept that people only move forward if they respect history and learn from it. So definitely I feel like respecting history is something that's very personal to me, and the fact that they did state like just clearly and clear as day that they don't want to offend anybody with this in any way, form, or fashion, and they will respect the traditions and customs of the people of Tsushima and Japan as in general and how it affected Japan and stuff like that, so they won't like take it too far. They won't like treat it like it's a game or a joke. They will be respecting it 100%. It's something that I can get behind. Five, or no, I already said five. Six, hints of Japanese dub with English subs to replicate a movie feel. And that's very simplistic, they just want to give it that kind of, if you want to play it like it's one of those movies, once again, set in the Edo period, you can play it like that. The cutscenes and stuff like that will be set up like that. Now, we also got a few of these, concept arts, and these concept arts showcase Jin in his ghost costume during the day, so this confirms that the ghost costume won't be something that he can only use at night. So whether or not this costume provides new abilities, this costume changes up his gameplay style or changes up some kind of attributes or traits or stats, meaning that maybe he'll go from like being a regular human when he's wearing his samurai outfit, then if you put on the ghost outfit, he'll probably have like super speed, he can jump super high. He can probably like do that skipping thing that they do in the movies and stuff to where it's kind of like it seemed like they're gliding and shit. Imagine he could do that. Also, as well, he can probably hide in shade and stuff like that, like just completely go invisible to like the naked eye, and things like that could probably potentially happen. So the case that he will be wearing it during the day shows that this outfit isn't something that will be completely used just only at night, which is the only time we got to see it in the trailer. So that's a very good thing to know, because if this does provide additional abilities or changes in stats or potentially like weapon changes, and he can probably use like different abilities like super speed and stuff like that, it's going to be cool to actually be able to use this during the day. And I would love to see how they're going to find a balance between like what makes using his original costume good versus using the ghost outfit. Will you have a higher chance of dying since your armor will be like kind of reduced? Will you have a higher chance of dying, which makes like a lot more situations better to handle with the samurai outfit? Or will the ghost outfit just be completely OP and you can run around with it all day? And let's say this is probably something that's probably going to be affected by the Shinigami and shit like that, and this will probably have some type of incantation on it, or it'll probably be a special armor that Jin's family had, and it's just like a crazy armor that gives you like completely destructive abilities above any regular human. Then that would kind of be a little bit crazy, but I'm not going to rule it out with Sucker Punch. I'm not going to rule it out with Sucker Punch. They're the people who made the Infamous series. And if this is going to be taking inspiration from Infamous, which I definitely believe to be the case because that's the main thing they spoke about in the developer interview trailer, how Infamous and stuff and the transition from Infamous to this, and how, of course, they want to take that same level of like detail and interesting like powers and abilities and stuff like that and bring it over to something new. It's definitely sounding like they want to bring over like interesting powers and abilities to Ghost of Tsushima. We also have Jin venturing in some robes, which may mean that we'll start the game at some time before the attack on Tsushima. But that's all we had for Ghost of Tsushima at PlayStation Experience. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and my thoughts on everything that we got. And I will be continuing to talk about Ghost of Tsushima in 2018. Thank you guys for tuning into the video. This is being Boy Amaziah. Don't forget to do a little A-class gaming and everything you do. Don't forget to keep it A-class. And I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace the heck out.